insurance bubble closer to popping as climate risks mount. We'll see when all this unravels soon enough. And now let's add this from the UK Guardian. Leaders of the world's biggest polluting countries skipping UN climate summit. Joe Biden and Xi Jinping, I hope I got that right, leaders of the two biggest carbon emitters, among those not attending the summit in New York. Why not? Because they have no interest in accomplishing anything. Again, the climate conferences I just mentioned, what those are about, smoke and mirrors. Behind the scenes, countries are strong-armed to collude and cooperate on a climate engineering issue. From NPR, this puzzle piece, connected to what I just covered about Biden skipping the climate summit deal. Biden is unveiling the American Climate Corps, a program with echoes of the New Deal. What a pile of propaganda this is. Skip World Climate Meeting, issue more carbon fuel drilling permits than ever, covertly continue to ramp up climate engineering to catastrophic levels, and then pretend to care about the climate by erecting the smokescreen of the new American Climate Corps. What a circus of insanity it all is. And about Biden, how clear can it be at this point that he isn't capable of determining what day it is, let alone anything else? He's just a puppet, like all the rest, all sides of the manufactured political divide. And let's add this new Biden-backed headline as well. Texas breaks ground on controversial Biden-backed carbon removal project. That sounds like a great idea, right? No, not so much. Rising out of the arid scrubland of western Texas is the world's largest project yet to remove excess carbon dioxide, CO2, from the atmosphere, a quest that has been lauded as essential to help avert climate catastrophe. The creators of this project have now been awarded funding from the Biden administration, even as critics attack the technology as a fossil fuel-funded carbon fuel industry-backed distraction, which is exactly what it is. For the record, the previously constructed massive and expensive carbon-sucking vacuum facade project named Orca was estimated to capture a whopping 3 seconds of human-caused carbon production in an entire year's worth of its operating. Absolutely pointless. Smoke and mirrors, all of it. And then there's this. No need to worry about total biosphere collapse. We don't need a functional environment. We have Walmart and McDonald's and, best of all, cruise ships. New from cruisehive.com, this headline, quote, 10 stunning new cruise ships to arrive in 2024. Including the largest cruise ship ever from Royal Caribbean. There you have it. To hell with the world. Just take a cruise and discover dying and already dead oceans all over the world. Welcome to the asylum. Full throttle insanity till the moment of impact. You're listening to the weekly installment of Global Alert News, the Bad News Broadcast, installment number 424, September 23rd, 2023. This is Dane Wigington, your host. Global Alert News is brought to you by geoengineeringwatch.org, the largest and most visited website in the world on the subject of climate intervention operations, known as geoengineering. The commercial-free, non-political Global Alert News Hour is currently being aired on 27 AM and FM stations throughout the country. All recent recordings of this broadcast can be found on the homepage of geoengineeringwatch.org under the recent column. Geoengineering Watch wishes to express our deepest gratitude to those that have helped us to expand our reach and thus our voice in this desperate last-hour effort to sound the alarm. On that subject, if you're on our email list, please put us on your email contact book so that our mailouts don't go to the spam files. Please help us to share the groundbreaking documentary, The Dimming, which fully exposes the climate engineering atrocities. The best way to share is by circulating the direct link to The Dimming by email directly from the homepage of geoengineeringwatch.org. Sharing directly helps us to overcome social media censorship. When viewing our YouTube of The Dimming or Global Alert News or any other Geoengineering Watch video on YouTube, please subscribe, share, and comment, all of which helps us to circulate critically important data to a much wider audience. How do we reach those that still aren't looking up? Here's one way. By starting the conversation with Geoengineering Watch awareness-raising materials, which can be found on our homepage. Our only goal, to provide activists what they need to move this fight forward. There are very high-quality printed materials with shocking images. A picture's worth 1,000 words, as the proverb goes. We also have very high-quality Geoengineering Watch hoodies and shirts, shocking images, both sides. We have shirt and hoodie photos on our homepage so you can view those activist tools. scannable business cards, bumper stickers, all effective tools to help strike up a conversation on the climate engineering issue. Waking the masses to the climate engineering onslaught is the great imperative of our time. If we can expose it, we can stop it from the inside out. We have to awaken our military brothers and sisters to what they're participating in, and the families of those with defense contractors that are also involved. They must know that they are participating in their own demise. And if we can reach this critical mass of awareness, we will cause a shockwave all over the world as populations understand what their governments have done to them without their knowledge or their consent. Time isn't on our side. If you're willing to share a picture of yourself with a Geoengineering Watch shirt or hoodie, perhaps at a gym or farmer's market, busy street downtown, please send us your photo so that we can post it as part of our activist compilation, which is now part of our materials page. The images encourage others to make their voices heard in this all-important battle to sound the alarm. Check that link. Take a look. Many have joined this battle. My deepest and most sincere gratitude to all those who are steadfastly committed to this must-win fight for all that matters. Stay tuned for more input and specific directions on how to make your voice heard. Moving on, more bad news headlines. This one from Vox.com, VOX.com. The ocean is rising and so is Miami's skyline. Reports says the coastal city wants to build its way out of the climate change scenario. Is that smart? Question mark. Here's another question. Is this another psychotic example of so-called sustainable development, the oxymoron philosophy that has already delivered us to this very, very dark hour? Yes, brilliant. Just build higher and issue snorkels to the occupants of the ground floors. It's coming. Wait and see. And it's an incredibly non-linear equation from climate collapse, crop collapse, fisheries collapse, ozone layer collapse, sea level rise. It is coming, can't be hidden much longer. And as it becomes impossible to hide, the power structure will become more desperate and dangerous than ever. And that time is already unfolding now. It doesn't matter if you don't believe it. Wait and see. Moving on, same part of the world from grist.org. This headline from this week, it's not just coral. Extreme heat is weakening entire marine ecosystems in Florida. The headline, not completely true. The extreme heat isn't just weakening entire marine ecosystems, it is killing entire marine ecosystems, and it's not happening just in Florida. Here's a reminder of this recent report from newscientist.com. Emperor penguin colonies lost all their chicks due to ice breakup. Covered that in an earlier broadcast. Question, how can the death of such miraculous creatures not move all of us to the marrow? Yet almost none even notice, let alone care. Completely caught up in scripted political theater or football games or the next material acquisition. Such is the world we live in. And the heat waves aren't just killing penguins in Antarctica. New from the UK Guardian, elephants on the march across African borders as heat stress leads to fatalities. Heart-wrenching photo on this article of elephants marching across parched lands with some already laying dead. It absolutely tears my heart out. And people going about their lives as if nothing's wrong, as if it's none of their concern. It's all of our concern. No matter what our life was like here, no matter how detached it seemed from all these other places and people and creatures that are suffering, they are us and we are them. And we have an absolute obligation to not just care, but to do everything we can to make a difference. Back to the downstream consequences of polar meltdown. From MSN.com, American coastlines could be submerged underwater as early as 2050. That is a very, very unrealistically optimistic scenario. It's going to happen far, far sooner. It's already happening. Miami's spending $1 billion a year to pump their streets out, and they're building more high-rises. From CNN, French ski resort closes permanently because there's not enough snow. From that report, winter is coming, and for yet another ski resort in France, that means facing up to the reality that there isn't enough snow to carry on. Buttoning these places up, the Alps melting, some of the peaks collapsing because the ice is thawing. From UK Guardian, cactus replacing snow on Swiss mountainsides due to global heating. Some stunning pictures in that article. From Peninsula Daily, News.com. Wildfires surge in Olympic National Park, a boreal rainforest region where fires were once almost unknown. It's not just Canada. It's not just Siberia. It's happening again all over the globe. We have Greece, Portugal, Spain. And let's not forget this. On all these places that have been dried out and are now incinerating by design, again, search wildfires serve geoengineering agenda to learn why. Because too many people hide in their denial by saying they wouldn't do this to themselves. Guess what? They already have in too many ways to even begin to comprehend. We're not dealing with sanity. We're dealing with a headless, heartless, soulless cancer that has one mission: to proliferate unchecked until its host dies. That is literally the mentality we're dealing with. About controlling the spigot from phys.org, this headline: it's an emergency. Midwest towns scramble as drought threatens drinking water. They decide where it rains, when it rains, how much it rains, and how toxic that rain will be. Now to the other side of the world, from ABC News Australia: unseasonable September heat, an ominous sign for spring. Again, they had this scheduled for months now, with weather records set to be challenged. It's already spring and it feels like summer, the report says. From SMH.com: short, sharp, and unexpected why Sydney, that's in Australia, heat wave could prove deadly. Just beginning, they're just entering spring right now. And back to the other side of the spectrum, as again, Australia is heading for burning. And here's another headline on that front, by the way, from theconversation.com. Fire regimes around Australia shifted abruptly 20 years ago, and falling humidity is why. And the falling humidity, climate engineering, desiccant particles are incredibly effective at drying out the atmosphere when they choose to do so. They can seed to augment rain, they can seed to completely diminish and disperse rain. Their choice. They control the spigot. Next, same theme from GulfNews.com. Heaviest rains in century bring floods to Iranian cities. As has been the case for decades, the Iranians, due to their refusal to cooperate with Western powers, have borne the brunt of drought, deluge, weather warfare. Next, this new report from Climate Action Australia. Quote, as good as it ever got, question mark, hurling towards the environmental abyss. From that report, as we collectively hurtle toward the environmental abyss, it's worth asking whether we have definitely passed the high water mark of human development. Here's the short answer to that question: yes. We are now free falling into the rapid decline and collapse phase. And even now, the epidemic of normalcy bias continues unabated. Criminal cabals masquerading as legitimate governments and so-called academia that on almost every front pushes what power structure institutions have told them is the truth, pushes whatever they are told to push in order to preserve their paychecks and their pensions, and populations that are all too often, all too willing to look the other way and to do what they're told, so long as they believe doing so will help to maintain their personal paradigm or their personal pursuit of pleasure for just a bit longer. How many couldn't care less about the pain and suffering of the homeless in our streets, let alone the hundreds of millions suffering in collapsing countries around the world, with collapsing environments all over the world and the innocent creatures that live there? Far too many without a clue, and proud of it. From Indie.com, this headline that seems fitting at the moment: the long road to ruin. It states how civilization took a wrong turn thousands of years ago. The report then cites this scripture: for wide is the gate and broad is the road that leads to destruction, and many enter through it. Again, that's from Indie.com. Next, the world has already ended. That's the title of an exceptional and on-target essay from okdoomer.io. If you've ever seen the movie Soylent Green from 1973, you know it's not about cannibalism. It's about the banality of social collapse. It's not quick. It's a slow burn. Nobody shows any sense of urgency about anything. It's not just that corporations are using people as the main ingredient in everyone's favorite new food. It's this: when actor Charlton Heston finds out, nobody cares. You already know what's going to happen. They've been doing it for generations. The primary character in the movie, Soylent Green, again, actor Charlton Heston, once he finds out the primary food of the future is recycled deceased humans, he could shout it from the rooftops that the rich are feeding the poor to each other and nobody would care. nobody would protest. Nobody would sign a petition. Nobody would act surprised, even if they believed him. They only care about getting through the next day. They only care about their next meal or their next water ration. That's when you realize the point of the film. They've been eating each other the whole time. They've been doing it for generations. The world has already ended. This civilization is gone. This world is gone. It already ended for millions of people. Some of us just haven't felt it yet. It was never an easy one for most of us. It was never fair. But there was a level of predictability. There was a level of comfort and convenience. That's gone now. The paradigm that we have previously known is over. The formerly thriving planet we were given with it. What a profound metaphor this film was, Soylent Green, from 50 years ago, a film that was set in the year 2022. How on target were the filmmakers? In an overall and metaphorical context, that should be self-evident. In the coming weeks and months and years, it will become even more undeniable. Yet, the vast majority will almost certainly continue to double down on their denial until they can't. How many who have summoned the courage to awaken and to look at the wider horizon through a clear lens, and who have done their best to share rationally undeniable dire truths with others, have heard the following statement or something like it, quote, "I refuse to believe it. I don't care how much evidence there is," end quote. And then there's this, how many times I've had so many individuals say to me, well, yes, there's some bad things going on, but I don't think it will be a problem in my lifetime, maybe my kids or my grandkids. And even if that was true, which it absolutely isn't, would this absolve them from their responsibility to face the truth and to do what's right? We face a societal pathology of denial, distraction, and wishful fantasy, aka the collective insanity. Denialism definition. The establishment definition of denialism is this: anyone that refuses for any reason to accept the official narrative on anything. In this equation, verifiable and indisputable facts aren't relevant. Only the officially ordained narratives can be considered as factual. Quote, believe the science, we're told. Trust the experts. And indeed, the vast majority do, without questioning or investigating on their own. Such is the societal model that the manipulators of the Matrix have trained, taught, and programmed into societies for decades, even centuries. But who paid for the so-called science? Who is furnishing the paychecks and pensions to the so-called experts who, as we now know all too well from countless examples, will come to any conclusion they are paid to come to? That's how the system works. That's how it has always worked. Such individuals comprise another percentage of populations, the paid liars, inflicted with the pathology of moral bankruptcy. Short of a complete course correction, the extremely near-term consequences of the current paradigm will be self-annihilation. So, where do each of us fit into this ever-darkening equation? The choice is ours. To exercise our only true possession, our will, correctly, honorably, morally, virtuously, or not. There are no guarantees in this seasonal occupation called life. There never has been. What matters, all that matters, is what we choose to do with the time that we've been given. Reaching a critical mass of awareness is the only way forward in this fight. Sharing credible data from a credible source with family, friends, and others is the most effective key to the door. Check the Activist Suggestions link and the Activist Materials section on the homepage of geoengineeringwatch.org for specific details on how you can help to move this fight forward. No matter what we face, if you know at your very core that you stood steadfast against the rapidly rising tide of darkness and insanity without yielding, then the story ends well, no matter what comes. Please, make your voice heard, make every day count. Until next week, this is Dane Wigington from geoengineeringwatch.org.